Before the war became maps covered in arrows and fields covered in graves, life moved slowly. Not peacefully, just slowly. People still argued over borders. Kings still distrusted other kings. Merchants still cheated each other over trade prices and shipping rights. Farmers still complained about taxes while local officials pretended to listen. In many ways, the world before the war looked very normal. That is usually how these things begin. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, "Ah yes, today feels like the start of a conflict that will ruin the next 40 years." Instead, the beginning feels ordinary. In the northern cities, markets opened before sunrise. Wagons rolled over wet cobblestone streets carrying grain, salt, timber, and barrels of beer that probably tasted terrible by modern standards. Sailors unloaded cargo while local guards searched for smugglers with the energy of men who had not slept enough. Far to the south, nobles hosted long dinners inside warm candlelit halls while musicians played quietly in the corners. Important people discussed trade routes and royal marriages while pretending not to insult each other. And somewhere in between all of this sat the borderlands. The borderlands were the problem. They had always been the problem. The region stretched across forests, rivers, hills, and muddy roads that turned into disasters every time it rained. Several kingdoms claimed parts of the land. Local communities often spoke different languages depending on which village you stopped in. Taxes changed from one valley to the next. Flags changed too, sometimes very quickly. One year a town belonged to one ruler. A few years later another army marched through and suddenly everyone had a new king, new laws, and new coins with a different face stamped onto them. The people living there learned not to become too emotionally attached to politics. For generations, rulers argued over who truly owned the region. Old documents were brought out during negotiations. Ancient treaties were quoted by men who had never actually visited the land they were arguing about. One diplomat reportedly spent 3 hours explaining why a river marked the natural border between two kingdoms. The river itself had moved decades earlier, but details like that rarely stopped politicians. At first, the disputes remained manageable. There were tense meetings, some threats, a few angry letters, the usual medieval version of posting mean comments online. But beneath the surface, larger problems were building. Trade had started slowing down across the region. Several harvests failed after unusually harsh winters. Prices rose. Jobs became harder to find in major cities. Smugglers and mercenaries found easy work along the frontier. And when economies struggle, governments become nervous. Nervous governments often look for someone else to blame. Some rulers blamed neighboring kingdoms. Others blamed rebellious nobles. A few blamed foreigners. One ruler blamed bad weather so often that his advisors eventually stopped reacting. Meanwhile, military leaders quietly pushed for expansion. Generals always believed the borderlands could be secured with one decisive campaign. Just one. A quick victory. A strong show of force. Maybe a few dramatic cavalry charges for the history books. Then everyone could go home. That was the theory anyway. The reality was much messier. The kingdoms surrounding the region existed in an uneasy balance. None of them fully trusted each other, but none of them wanted full war either. Alliances connected the major powers together like tangled fishing nets. If one state entered a conflict, another would likely follow. Then another. Then another. Soon a local border dispute could become something far larger. Many leaders understood this danger. That is what makes the story uncomfortable. They saw the risk clearly, and still kept moving toward it. Part of the problem was pride. No ruler wanted to appear weak. Backing down during negotiations could damage a king's reputation at court. Nobles might see compromise as cowardice. Rivals could use it as proof that the crown lacked strength. So leaders continued making threats they hoped would never need to be carried out. Unfortunately, other rulers were doing exactly the same thing. Across the continent, armies slowly expanded. Blacksmiths produced more weapons. Fortifications were repaired. Recruitment officers traveled through villages promising wages, glory, adventure, and other things that sounded much better on paper than in real life. Young men signed up believing they would return home heroes. Most wars begin with confidence. The exhausting reality comes later. At the same time, ordinary civilians tried to continue their lives. Farmers planted crops. Teachers taught children. Priests gave sermons about morality while local gamblers ignored all of it completely. People married. Children were born. Festivals filled town squares with music and lanterns. To many citizens, the political tensions felt distant. Important perhaps, but distant. The great mistake of peaceful societies is assuming distant problems will remain distant forever. In taverns near the frontier, travelers carried rumors from one town to another. Troops moving east, a nobleman assassinated, secret treaties, spies crossing borders. Most rumors were exaggerated. Some were entirely invented. One man claimed an enemy kingdom was training attack bears. Nobody believed him, mostly because the kingdom could barely afford horses. Still, the atmosphere slowly changed. Merchants became cautious. Roads felt less safe. Local militias trained more often. Border guards grew suspicious of strangers. People started speaking more carefully in public. You could feel tension settling over the region like fog. Not dramatic tension, quiet tension. The kind that creeps in gradually. The kind people learn to ignore. Then came the summer that everything finally cracked. Diplomats gathered for another round of negotiations over trade access and border rights. Nobody expected major progress. These meetings usually ended with polite frustration and expensive dinners. But this time, something was different. Messages arrived late. Military patrols reported unusual troop movements. Several border villages accused neighboring forces of harassment and raids. Both sides denied responsibility. Both sides blamed the other. And neither side trusted a single word being said. Inside royal courts, advisors argued late into the night. Some demanded restraint. Others pushed for immediate military action. A few still believed the crisis would pass. After all, similar tensions had happened before. The world had survived them. But history has a strange habit. Sometimes decades of pressure remain hidden beneath the surface. Then one small event breaks everything open at once. And when that moment finally arrives, people often spend years looking back and asking the same question. How did something so enormous begin with something that seemed so small? The answer, unfortunately, was already on its way. The official beginning of the war would later be described in history books with neat sentences and precise dates. Historians love neat sentences. Reality is usually much less organized. At the time, most people did not realize they were witnessing the start of anything historic. To them, it looked like another tense week in a tense year inside a tense region where everyone already expected trouble sooner or later. Still, there was one event that changed everything. One moment where the pressure finally exploded. It happened near the frontier. Of course it did. That was where all the bad decisions eventually gathered. The border town itself was small. A muddy trading settlement built beside an old river crossing. Travelers stopped there to rest horses, exchange goods, drink too much, and complain about politics to strangers. The kind of place where rumors spread faster than official news. For weeks, local tensions had been growing. Patrols from neighboring kingdoms accused each other of crossing borders illegally. Farmers claimed livestock had been stolen. A tax convoy disappeared along a forest road. Nobody knew exactly who was responsible, or perhaps several people knew, but saying the truth out loud would have been inconvenient. Then came the incident. Accounts differ depending on who tells the story. Some claimed a border patrol opened fire first. Others insisted local rebels attacked both sides deliberately. One report blamed nervous soldiers who panicked during a storm. Another blamed smugglers. Years later, survivors still argued over what actually happened. But one detail remained consistent. Men died. Several officers were killed during the clash near the river crossing. Among them was a noble commander connected to an influential royal family. That changed the situation immediately. If anonymous soldiers had died, negotiations might have continued. But powerful families rarely accept humiliation quietly. News spread fast. Messengers rode through the night carrying sealed letters between cities. Church bells rang before sunrise in several towns. Military commanders received emergency orders. And across the region, rumors multiplied wildly. By the next morning, some people believed an invasion had already begun. Others believed entire border forts had fallen. One rumor claimed enemy assassins were hiding inside the capital disguised as musicians. That rumor caused a brief but very awkward situation for several innocent flute players. Inside royal courts, panic mixed with pride. Advisors gathered around candlelit tables arguing deep into the night. Some urged caution. They warned that one border clash should not lead to full war. Others disagreed. They argued that failing to respond would show weakness. And weakness, in their minds, invited future attacks. This is one of history's oldest traps. Leaders become so afraid of appearing weak that they accidentally destroy everything instead. Soon, demands were issued. Apologies, compensation, punishment for those responsible, troop withdrawals. Each side insisted the other side must act first. Neither side moved. Then mobilization orders began. At first, they were described as precautionary, temporary, defensive. Governments always use calming words right before enormous disasters.